Got to unmute or else you can't hear me. Good morning. My name is Reverend Dale Olansky, and I am so excited to be here today with all of you because I have two of my most favorite people with me today. Reverend Michael Kukuru, who is a newly minted minister of religious science, and Christine Cummings, who is a practitioner at our center. Our talk title for today is How to Unlock Your Creative Genius. And being creative is very important to all of us. And I found this wonderful quote, and it is, "The desire to create is one of the deepest yearnings of the human soul." Many of us don't realize the creative power that we have inside of ourselves. And as we teach at our center, we are all creative expressions of spirit. And so you may think you have no creativity inside of yourself, but you do. Everything you do in your life is creative. And we're here today to talk about how to unlock that creative energy inside of yourself and channel it into your life. And it doesn't necessarily mean you need to be an artist or an author. It just means that you have this creative power to bring forth a greater good in your life by channeling that source that is unlimited in ideas and ways to live your life. So I would like to invite my beloveds with me into this sacred space. There's Christine and Reverend Michael. And also I would like to encourage anybody who has a question you want to ask us at any time at all, because this is going to be a discussion. It's going to be, we have some topics that we have planned, but we would love to get your feedback, your questions, because we're really here to inspire you and teach you how to unlock that creative energy inside of yourself so you can live a fulfilling life. So good morning, my beloveds. Would you, I want to just introduce you to our viewers this morning. So Reverend Michael, would you like to just say a few words about you and maybe answer these questions about creativity, how you define it, how you experience it, and maybe how you invite it in?
Okay. I love being a part of our community because one thing I experience is we come to a higher consciousness when we come together. And we come together through prayer, through connecting in community, and through connecting with spirit. And creativity for me, and how I define it, is thoughts become things. What we think about, we bring about. And we often do this by telling a story. And there's a story of a ship maker who puts ships in a bottle. And a young boy comes in and he sees the ships in the bottle and he goes, "Oh, how did you put that ship in the bottle?" And the gentleman says, "Well, I made it, and then I crafted it, and then I inserted it in the bottle." Then the young boy looks in the back corner of the shop, and there's a live swan inside a bottle. And the young boy says, "How in the world did you get a live swan inside a bottle? And how are you going to get the live swan out?" And the ship maker and bottle artist says, "I'm going to get him out the same way I got him in. I imagined him in there." And creativity for me is about creative imagineering. You think about it and you bring it about.
Thank you, Michael. Reverend Michael, excuse me. Christine, how about you? You want to just introduce yourself and talk a little bit about creativity and how you experience it?
Well, my name is Christine Cummings, and I have been a practitioner. I'm honored to be a practitioner at the Center for Spiritual Living since 2013, and it has been my spiritual home since 2004, and certainly a life-changing place and a life-changing community. And to me, creativity is using our gifts of being created in the image and likeness of our Creator by allowing divine input and then taking that creative action. And I believe that the most life-changing event for me that I just blessed this teaching of the science of mind has been for me to recognize that I am a creation of the great Creator. And I have that love, that gift, all of those divine gifts live in me and desire to be expressed. And I am worthy of expressing it. And everyone else is as well.
Thank you, Christine. For me, I love creativity, and as a child, I was always very creative. And as we go through our lives, sometimes that creativity gets shut down because we get externally focused, and the outside world becomes our influence. And for me, creativity is all about turning away from all of that and coming into that place of oneness with our spiritual nature, and just opening up to new ideas and new information and new ways of living life, or creating something tangible. It's a very exciting energy, I think, because it's the nature of us, and it's something new. It's, to me, it's all about bringing something new into this world, whether it's something just personal for me to do, or something that's going to be, I'm going to produce to give and inspire to others. So I'm excited about our show today, because I think there's a lot of people who don't see themselves as creative. And for me, the whole idea that we talk about as practitioners and ministers is our first step of prayer is always about recognition. And for me, we say step one, recognition, and we just belt through all the steps of our prayer. But to me, recognition is, to me, the most profound step, because we are recognizing our oneness as this creative energy of God. And I think for people wanting to bring more creativity into their life and connect with that, to recognize that they are creative. I don't care what your mom told you or what society told you. We have to be creative. We are creative at every moment. Making decisions is creative. How you're gonna make your breakfast is creative. So for me today, if there's one takeaway I would love for people to take away, is to see that yes, you are creative, and let that knowing, that recognition, inspire you to open that channel however it chooses to express. So what I would like to do right now is I want to turn it over. We all have some things to say. And when we were discussing what we were going to talk about, Reverend Michael talked about the hero's journey, which I know for Christine and I is something that's near and dear to our hearts. The hero's journey, which was something that was popularized by Joseph Campbell. It's such a relevant part of the human experience, and it's really a universal journey that we all have. But Michael has a great way of talking about it with the creative process. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Reverend Michael, and explore that and expand on that.
Sure, I would love to. And I'd like to go back on the creative process to begin with one of our basic concepts in Science of Mind. And that's the concept of seed, soil, and plant. And that really is the creative process where we align with spirit. And so when we have an idea that we choose to bring forth, the work we do in meditation and going to prayer and our spiritual readings and borrowing from the wisdom of others, we come to go on a spiritual journey. And it's a spiritual awakening. For myself, this journey of life is a journey of awakening to new awarenesses, to new ideas, to new possibilities beyond what we call in Science of Mind my precedent of beliefs. And so in the hero's journey, which for myself is a journey of awakening, and a journey of awakening that spirit within. And here's something universal spirit operates through universal law. And this is from Ernest Holmes. Universal spirit operates through universal law, which receives the direct impress of our thoughts, our feelings, and our beliefs, and brings them into form with this universal law, which is consistent and absolute. So as we have an idea to write a book, to go on a journey, to understand ourselves more fully, spirit aligns with us and reveals things to us. Hero's journey begins with the ordinary world. That's right where we are today, right here on this call. Dale said what we had for breakfast, if we took a walk, if we took time to meditate with the sun, right where we are. In all of the circumstances and the conditions of our life, we begin where we are. And Ernest Holmes says, begin where you are. And then we have this call to adventure. A call, oh yeah, we get this call to adventure. Maybe to get a sailing ship and sail out to new horizons, beyond the horizons of what we've known. And they did that way back when they said the world was flat and you'd fall off the edge. Someone had the courage to call to new adventure, to get in a sailing ship, put his life on the line and say, we're going to find out and know that the world is not flat. We will not fall off the edge. That was a call to adventure, to go beyond the horizons of the known of the current times. And so we're being called to go beyond the adventure of our life as it is into what it could be. Now, there's a refusal of the call where we say, nope, I'm not going. I'm not turning this over, because I, Michael, at times like to be in control. And one of the gifts of the creative process is turning it over to Spirit and say, I release and I let go and I willingly move forward into this adventure of life. So after the refusal of the call, we need a mentor. Someone comes into our life, often unexpectedly. We would call it luck, but in science of mind, we would call it synchronicity. Mentors are brought to us in exactly the right moment, the exact right time. And this mentor helps us cross a threshold, something that I can't do this. I can't step into that unknown. I'm so uncomfortable in the unknown that I cannot move forward. That's a belief. And our mentor embraces us in love and in compassion and kindness and caring and says, come with me to the edge. Come with me to the edge. And he encourages us to step across that edge, across that boundary into something new and unknown. And then he releases us for a time and we cross into this unknown, where we have what's called tests, allies, and enemies. We come up against challenges, we come up against adversaries, and we come up against situations that we are not comfortable in, but that challenge us to realize we always have the courage to meet what is ever before us. We always have the compassion to be gentle with ourselves as we move forward. And as we do, we find a connection with a world beyond the world of our known into a divine world. And we learn something about ourselves. We learn that we truly are worthy. We truly are one. We truly are supported in all of our dreams and our goals and our expectations and our creativity, because Spirit has always imagined it better than we can. And so we come to trust. When we release and let go and enter the adventure and meet these allies and enemies and tests, we come to realize we are enough. We are enough to live our dream and to align our dream with Spirit. And then we come to have this reward and this self-awareness. I can now leave this area, this unknown area that I didn't know, return to my ordinary world with a gift to share with others. And that gift is, if I can move into the uncomfortableness of the unknown and return with the gift of knowing who I am, then I can share that gift with you. And the gift we're here to share today is the gift of knowing that Spirit aligns with you when you allow Spirit to align with you. Seed, soil, and plant. Spirit is with us. It's in us. It's as us. It's through us. And Spirit is asking us or inviting us to surrender our known into the unknown of possibility and come to find a journey and return with a story and share that story with others. And that's the hero's journey for me.
Thank you, Michael, Reverend Michael. That was great. So, Christine, would you like to share what you would like to talk about regarding creativity in your journey?
Well, I would, and I'd like to introduce my friend here. Let me see if I can get him so he can be seen more fully. Why am I not? There you are. There you are. All right. This guy has been with me on this journey. And if I think many of you may be aware that there is in the word FROG, fully rely on God. And as Reverend Michael so beautifully said, we are always supported. And I certainly did not realize that I was supported from within when I went through my journey, which began, I would say, when I was in the middle of what I call my midlife meltdown. And I had lived a life of creating false facades and covering up secrets and shame and feeling unworthy because I knew nothing about anything about half of who I was, my biological father. And I had learned to put up this facade and to overdo and to overwork in order to feel that I could be accepted. And then all of a sudden, I crashed. And when I crashed, I opened up to a friend who led me to a family counselor, and she sat me down and she said, "You are a puzzle, and half the pieces are missing, and you must find those pieces to recreate the person that you are meant to be and to find peace in your life." And so I went from a person who really lived 50 shades of gray and took the name that my mother had taken, Black, and applied it to myself as being the black sheep in the family. And I decided it was time to throw that away and take a journey. And so in 1997, finally, 3 years after the counselor's advice, I got into my 1992 Honda Accord with this book with me, and it is Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. And it has been a huge influence on my life, and I've been honored to be able to facilitate some Artist's Ways creative circles as well. And the Artist's Way is all about recognizing there is a great creator and allowing that great creator to express via who we are and how we show up in life. And I would say that it took me 12 years in order to get the book that I was encouraged to write published. And creativity is both great joy and struggle. But this is what I know and what I want to share with everyone. If you're not in the creative flow, get up and go. Get up and go out and be in nature. Get out and move your body. Get out and open yourself to the beauty and the joy of life, of connecting with other people. So many miraculous experiences have come my way because I didn't just hold myself up, but I went out. And certainly this spiritual community, it was in the midst of my practitioner training that I recognized my oneness with all life and that I would always be supported in whatever I did. And it is one of the most beautiful and powerful messages that I hope that I can share with each one of you. So thank you. Are we supposed to show a copy of our book now, Dale, or not?
Well, we can wait for, well, if you want to, you know what? Why don't you let's, okay, we'll wait.
We'll wait.
Thank you. And thanks for that, Christine. Your story is so inspiring. I mean, we could do a whole show on both of you, just singularly talking about your whole writing experience in your book and all that. But let's save that for another time. I want to acknowledge somebody who has been giving us some feedback. Diana Clark. She said she has a book. She's had a book in her for 20 plus years. Yeah, time to write, honey. Time to write. And we're going to be talking about at the end of the show. We want to see if there's an interest out there to come together and have maybe a 4-week class on igniting that writing that book, how to ignite it, how to bring it into form. And so we'll maybe, Diana, if you're interested in that, let us know. And our listeners, I'll give you more detail on that later. For me, my thing with creativity and how it really expressed in a more concrete way. Actually, I shouldn't even limit it like that. My life has been a continual demonstration of creativity, and like Reverend Michael said, it's all about seed, soil, plant. You have the idea, you water it and nurture it, and it comes into form. I think a lot about as I was just thinking about my book that I wrote, I was also thinking about my work as a practitioner, because I think that being a practitioner, we are plugging into something really creative when we pray, when we counsel people. We're plugging into that big source to guide us and to bring out the ideas that allow us to inspire and lift people up. So it is a very creative vocation. For me and my book, though, I received the call to create, kind of like the hero's journey, when and I don't want to be political right now, but in 2016, when we had a change in a government administration, a lot of people I know were they were very scared, and I was kind of inspired to do something, and I thought I could either be part of complaining and fear, or I could be a practitioner, a spiritual leader, and give back to the community something to uplift and to see truth and to be comfortable no matter what's happening in life. And so I was inspired to do a daily Facebook post, which where I would give daily inspiration, and I was giving kind of just general inspiration. And then one day I thought, I'm going to talk more about what I'm seeing in life and my experience and give an uplift. And people loved that. They loved it when I got really personal with it. And so what ended up happening is about a year and a half later, with some encouragement by Ginny Weissman to write a book and some other people who asked the same, I put all of my writings into one book. And it was such a lovely way for me to do my creative process, because I have had a book in me for a very long time. Actually, I've had a few and I've written some outlines, but none of them came to be because I made excuses and I didn't want to dedicate the time to actually write a book. But the way that it turned out for me, that I was daily writing and it just became something, was the perfect way for me to launch my book. So here I was listening to creativity in so many ways, the call to create, the way to create, and then it comes together to give something to the world. And so for me, it was about surrendering, because every morning, and I can't even believe I did this. I could never, well, I shouldn't say never, but right now I'm not inspired to write every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. But I was inspired every morning. I got up and I went to my computer and I just opened up the spirit and brought through what I wanted to bring through. And it was such a delightful experience to just be in the flow of something that wasn't egoic, that was just coming to a place of not needing to control everything and just letting it write through me. And then the editor could come in later to make it right and grammatically sound and the spelling correct. But it was such a lovely experience to just be in the flow of something that was formless, that was really a formlessness that was coming into form. And I thank you, Diana. And so and like I said, we're all writers. That's what we do. But there's so many other ways to be creative. In your relationships, you can be creative through art, through anything at all, just your beingness. So I think when we give ourselves the permission to allow ourselves to be creative, amazing things happen. And we have to let go of the perfectionism of it. We have to let go of, well, what will they think of this? It's all about just being you. I mean, everything really comes down to being the expression of spirit that you are, and allowing yourself to go beyond limits, go beyond what you think you're supposed to be, and go express yourself about what you're divinely guided to be, and trust that, and surround yourself with people who support you in that. A lot of time we tell people who aren't like-minded about our ideas, and they take them down. And what we teach a lot is be careful who you share with, because if you've got something lovely percolating, you want to give it life and be surrounded by people who are loving and supportive of you. So that's my story for now. I'm going to toss it back to Reverend Michael right now and see what he wants to talk about. If he wants to talk about his book and how it went through him, because you have a trippy story, Michael. So I want to just hand it over to you and let you talk about whatever is on your heart.
One thing I would like to follow up with what Dale shared is something I experienced when I was writing my book. I wanted to share it with so many people. Today, I worked on this chapter. Today, this idea came through, and I had never seen things that way, and how exciting it was. It's an exciting process for me. The process of self-discovery is very exciting. And so I would want to share at the end of my writing day all of these ideas that came up. And I came to realize through a mentor, a writing mentor, that part of that can be fear. When we overshare about our story, it's fear about, will spirit be there tomorrow? Will I be guided tomorrow? And I came to realize, keep it to myself, share it with a few people who could give you some guidance and input, but don't share your story away. Write your story. One of the biggest realities I came to, writing is not something for myself that I wait for spirit to say, sit down and write. I sit down at the same time every day. Whatever time that is for you. For myself, it's usually earlier in the morning. I'm rested, I'm fresher, I'm quieter, I'm not as attached to the ways of the world. I haven't had so much input from the world, so much noise from the world, so much news from the world. And I can come to listen to what I really want to share and what wants to be shared through me. So rather than talking one story away, find out a time every day that you can sit down the same time every day and just write whatever comes up. And that will lead you into a flow. And that flow will lead you into a knowing and a presence and a gift within yourself that has been ever present. It's just waiting to blossom. So creativity is a process for me of blossoming into who we truly are, into what we came here to do and who we came here to be. And writing and creativity is part doing, a little bit of study, a little bit of format, but it's a great deal of being. And I allowed my book to come through me because I didn't have chapter ideas. And I thought, well, if I had a chapter outline, that would be a good structure. And all of a sudden, the concept came to me, I think at 2 a.m, which often spirit shows up at 2 a.m, when we're quiet, when we're listening, when we're peaceful, and when we're still. And what dropped in, when we drop out, what dropped in was use the alphabet, the 26 letters of the alphabet. And if you look at my book, Heartlight, and you can check it out on Amazon and look at the first few chapters, every chapter is alphabetical. The first chapter is letter A, awakening awareness. And then chapter B, second chapter is B, becoming, and chapter 3 is C, consciousness. And so when I was needing an outline or a little support from a mentor, spirit dropped in, used the alphabet, and there it goes. And then I had my chapters very quickly, they filled in. And then each morning I would write the chapter I was called to write. I didn't have to write in my order. I'll start at the beginning and I'll write to the end. I started wherever it felt right. Oh, consciousness, I feel like writing on that today, and I'd write a sentence. And then that sentence would become a paragraph, and that paragraph would become a page, and that page would become a chapter. So for myself, it's a process of trusting, releasing, letting go, and listening, and honoring what's shared with you in those, I call them our soul whispers within. And when our soul whispers from within, and we're quiet and we listen, our creativity flows, our artwork flows, and our life expands and it begins to blossom. And the great gift of being a storyteller, and we all are, is that we connect with others heart to heart. We tell our story from our heart. It touches other people's hearts. They share their story from their heart. And all of a sudden we have that connection, that consciousness, that oneness, that goodness, and that grandness, that we're all one. We all have a story and we share it and we touch hearts. And that's the gift of listening, dropping into that heart space, moving from the head space to the heart space, speaking in love, speaking our truth, speaking what I call our hurts, and moving from hurt into hope. And that's part of the process of writing, and from hope into healing. So writing and creativity is a process, revealing our hurts, moving into hope, and experience healing. And that's a big part of the writer's journey. That's what I shared in Heartlight, From Illusion to Illumination, honoring soul whispers within.
Thank you, Reverend Michael. Somebody had a really great quote that they shared with us, and I maybe Krista can put it back up. And it's a Joseph Campbell quote, and it says, "We must be willing to let go of the life we plan, so as to have the life that is waiting for us." And we're kind of focused on writing, but I want to talk about creativity in our lives today, because our plans this whole year, our plans have been uprooted by this pandemic. And this has been the biggest call for tapping into that creative genius that we have. And I want to tell you something. We all are geniuses. We all have a creative genius within ourselves. And it's time to see that, because right now is a time that we're more so now than ever to call forth that creative genius from deep inside of you to guide you on what to create in your life now, especially with the challenges of not being able to be in our usual places that we like to go, or in gatherings and whatnot. And maybe you need to create another source of income. But the answers are all within, and that's that creative part of ourselves. And what's so cool about tapping into that creative part of ourselves is it's a match with what works for us, with what resonates to us. For example, if I'm wanting to create something new in my life, and like I talked about with my book, that newness is going to be a match for what I'm ready to live into, what's comfortable for me, what matches what I like to do. And my creative genius is going to inform me of different ideas than Reverend Michael's or Christine's. And so I think this is a great opportunity for all of us to find our creative genius, to guide us through life, to bring forth whatever is going to allow us to thrive. Because, life is for life. Spirit is for us. The universe is for us, not against us. And so when we encounter any kind of challenge, or when the plans of life fall apart, it's not, we can have a moment of, oh my God, what am I going to do? That's like Reverend Michael kind of talked about. Life, the journey of life is what it is. And we don't deny anything that comes up for us. We must recognize it. And if we're having a moment of loss of faith, that's okay, because we walk through it to the other side and say, wait a minute, I've got this creative genius inside of me that informs me, that has all the answers, and I'm going to open up to it and follow it. And I love what Reverend Michael talked about, and I want Christine to talk about this too as well. How do we invite that creative genius into our hearts? And Michael talked about the silence, or being awakened at 2:00 in the morning. Those quiet times are a perfect way to listen and to tune into that which is within ourselves, that's to be revealed. And, for me, I like to meditate, or I go into nature, just to be kind of quiet and open. It invites that into us. Christine, what do you think? How do you invite that in? There you go.
Okay. I believe that what has really helped me more than anything is to develop my spiritual practice, and to, just begin each day with meditation. I really thank Audrey Collier in her yoga class for helping me to do tapping to get the energy flowing, and also prayer and reading. And also, I mentioned The Artist's Way before, and since 1997, when I took this book with me on a journey in my Honda Accord from Connecticut to Boulder, Colorado, for our son's 25th birthday, I have been using the morning pages, not every day, but a lot of days. And Julia Cameron is a big believer in doing it longhand. I don't always do it longhand, but I do try to keep a journal, and I also do keep a gratitude journal. And I do believe that gratitude, appreciation just creates more appreciation and brings more good into your life. And this is the first gratitude journal that I started in 1997. And I wanted to share this with you because I think that this is a quote that certainly has helped me. And this was when I, coming across the country, saw the Rocky Mountains for the first time. The growing realization that I am the artist who creates my life. and how eager I am to get to it and just paint, paint, paint a vivid, exciting, rewarding future. And I'm just in awe that I actually wrote that back then. And I think that that artist lives in each one of us. And it I found a quote this morning that I wanted to share with everybody who has had an idea in them that they either want to write a book or create something. It is Winston Churchill: never give up on something that you can't go a day without thinking about. And I thought, wow, spirit is always, always informing us. And when it keeps informing us and informing us, then I truly do believe that we are to pay attention and to take that time. And I find my nature is probably my biggest muse. To go out into nature. Solitary walks are huge for me. And I was very grateful that in the newer books that Julia Cameron has written, including the one that we did a circle on 2 years ago, It's Never Too Late to Begin Again. She is including walks in nature along with the artist's dates and the morning pages. So I did want to tell you also, and Dale, I think you asked me, I did not begin to write a book. I just started to compile my experiences into a journal. And it wasn't until I had the courage to share with other people. And Michael, I agree with Michael 100%. And Dale, both of you, we have to be very cautious about sharing. But believe me, I had so many people raise me up. And I was going through a Stephen ministry training during the time that I was trying to connect with my biological half brothers, and, just being with a support group like we have here at the Center for Spiritual Living is huge. And that's why I would be very excited if we can get some kind of a group together to support people in this process.
Thank you, Christine. Gosh, I'm loving having this conversation with both of you. This is so amazing. Something that I also want to kind of emphasize that people run into with writing, or just even being who you are or whatever, is this idea that it's already been said and everybody says it. So what good am I to repeat what everybody else has said? And something Reverend Michael talked about is we all have a story, and we all have a different way of speaking a story. And it's so important for you to use your voice to say what you are compelled to say, because there's so many spiritual books out there and they're all wonderful, but they're all kind of talking about the same thing. But how wonderful is it to hear it through this person's point of view and this person's point of view, because there's different ways of speaking about truth, which is what we teach, with different stories behind it, different ways of teaching these ideas. And like Christine and Michael, the way our books are, they're all very different, yet we're coming from a lot of spiritual truth in what we're in the way that we speak, and everybody's drawn to somebody different. So never mute your voice or think it's already been said, because it hasn't been said the way that you want to say it. And that's so important, to honor yourself. And this whole idea, I just want to broach into also the storytelling, because somebody I know teaches this. It's kind of almost like a sacred circle, but it's through a teaching called the Way of Counsel, and it's based on a Native American traditions of conflict resolution. And a lot of what we're seeing in our world right now is that people have really amped up their rhetoric and their stuff like that, because they feel that they're not being heard or recognized recognized. And the way of counsel is a way for everybody to be heard, to come together in small groups and talk our story without editing it, with just being able to say, this is where I'm at. And I have that with my groups, and I'm sure Reverend Michael has it with his groups, where we just allow people to talk about where they are, to be recognized, heard, loved, supported. And that brings life to such a wonderful, peaceful place, because we're being seen for who we are and what we're experiencing. And I think for what something we can bring to our world for others is to listen, like Reverend Michael said. So Reverend Michael, I'm going to toss it over to you and see where you're at with our discussion right now.
Because spirit's in every house, because I have something I wanted to share. So thank you for that intuitive, I guess we would call it an intuitive hit. Christine and Reverend Dale have been very eloquently giving voice to the absolute truth that each of us has a voice within. We call it genius, we call it awareness, we call it essence. And Ernest Holmes says this about creativity. And this is a quote from Ernest Holmes in our Science of Mind text. The spirit can only do for us what it can do through us. Unless we are able to provide the consciousness, spirit cannot make the gift present. The power behind all things is without limit. But in working for us, it must work through us. And in my book, the word that came up with Christine and Dale and myself recently is the word genius. And I mentioned that the gift of using the alphabet as a guide to write the book and then filling in whatever chapter I felt like working on that day. Someday it'd be one sentence. And so the next day I might throw that sentence out. It didn't have to be the perfect sentence. It was just the sentence that came through in that moment. And it keeps evolving. So that sentence evolves and changes and shifts. And my chapter for G, the alphabetic letter G, is genius within, genesis without. That genius is ever present within us, that seed and that soil and that plant of spirit. And it's aligning that with our seed and our soil and our plant. That's the alignment. That's the creative process. That's the possibility. When I get quiet, when I meditate, when I journal, when I let ideas to come through me rather than going to them, something new comes out. And so the genius within, it's like a genie in a bottle that's waiting to be released. So find a way to release that genie. Meditation, prayer, going to principles and practices of science and mind. When I'm in doubt, I've learned not to shout, but to get quiet and to go to the principles and practices of science and mind. And one of those is the creative process is one of our principles. And it says universal spirit operates through universal law, which receives the direct impress of our thoughts, our feelings and beliefs, and brings them into form through universal law. So when we believe it and we see it, God within achieves it without. And so I would share with you that all of those thoughts that I'm not enough, that I'm imperfect, I've come to realize I'm imperfectly perfect. And the gift of being imperfectly perfect, that leaves space for spirit to drop in. So let go of doing it right, doing it wrong, of pleasing people, of performing for people, of being perfect for people. Be with yourself the way you are, and your gift of who you are will show up in the world.
Thank you, Reverend Michael. That was awesome. I want to acknowledge Jeff, our beloved Jeff, who runs all of our shows and everything. He talked about, he says, I find like a muscle, I exercise it by writing daily. Some over time is worthy of sharing. Thank you for today's show. Thank you, Jeff. And then Christine spoke to that too, about spiritual practice and doing something daily. And I want to give you a gift to do daily as well. We talk about the power of affirmations because it changes our brain. You know, our brains are actually plastic, and affirmations are a great way to change that old thinking that limits us. And I was thinking, okay, here's an affirmation. I invite the creative genius within me to reveal what I need to know. just say that daily. If you're saying that daily, invite that creative genius within you to reveal what you need to know. You're going to be opening that door up. It is that easy. It is that easy to affirm every day, maybe a few times a day, that which you want to bring forward into your life. And we just say it and let it go, let it come in its right and perfect way. I was going to say, when we were talking about how do you invite that spirit into your life, that creative genius. And I was thinking, and I think probably Christine and Michael have some funny things to say about this. When I'm in the shower, or when I'm driving my car, I get ideas out of nowhere, and I know it's because my mind is distracted. So I'm gonna, after I talk a little bit more, I'm gonna have you guys kind of share your funny little stories about that. I'm gonna introduce my book right now, and then Christine, maybe you can introduce your book and talk about funny ways that you find spirit revealing itself to you. I know Reverend Michael talked about 2:00 in the morning. Here's my book. It's called Fear to Faith, a daily guide to finding solace in an uncertain world. And it's a daily passage to read. And then I have an affirmation at the bottom. I love this book because it came out. I'm so graphically like not there. And I had a team helping me create my book. And they exceeded my expectations of the graphics. Like, the inside is so cool. The little flowers, and there's a place to journal. You can get it on Amazon, and it's a really fun book. It just gives you a little daily nugget to contemplate and inspire you to see the good in everything that we're walking through in life. So there's my sales pitch. Christine, why don't you talk a little bit about your book and some funny ways that spirit shows up for you in your life when you're not expecting it?
Okay. Well, I will. This is my book. It's called Blackeyed Susan. A love child finds her father and herself, and it is about my search for my biological father, and my connections with my biological half brothers in 20 years ago. So we're celebrating that connection. They are twins, and have become quite an influence in my life. I can say this, that, and I had mentioned, I think earlier, that people encouraged me to write the book because there was such a story. And one of the people who encouraged me the most was a man who had one adopted child. And and also my minister, when we lived in Sedona, who had an adopted child and felt that this was a message for other children who did not know anything about their biological heritage. However, there was something in me, and I know it was spirit in me, that knew that that was not my message. My message was to tell my story, and then if other people were to learn from it, fine. But I can never encourage anybody, to make that decision, because as we all know, that there are situations where it has been not the kind of experience that I had had. So I say, listen to your inner voice. Michael, you talked about listening, and just really tuning in to spirit. And I would also say that I had a very, very difficult time, and my book was probably twice as long as it turned into. And I had a hard time processing some of what I was going through. And I attended a writing workshop at the Omega Center early on. And I was encouraged to not only get up to that higher level, which Carolyn Mace encouraged me to do through her writing, where you can look at things from a different perspective, but also to write from the third person. And it was a very interesting process to not have to personalize, but to give a voice to another person to tell the story. And I tried that, and I ended up using that technique in my book. And once I did that, everything flowed. And so, all I'm saying there is that keep yourself open, try different things that work, but listen to what's in your heart, because your heart definitely knows.
So I'm sorry. I was going to say, great. Go ahead, Michael.
I would like to affirm what Christine just shared, where I often find spirit dropping in, and more so is when I give a Sunday talk. A few years ago, when I began giving talks, I had to have every word scripted, every pause here, audience laughs here. And I would forget to pause, and the audience wouldn't laugh where I expected them to laugh, and they would laugh where I didn't think it was funny. And so I came to learn to listen to the audience. That's spirit's voice coming right back at you. And so I learned to laugh with them and share with them and be with them. And the greatest gift I came to was one day talking at Yuma CSL. And I wasn't comfortable with the talk I'd written as I'm walking up to the platform. And I said, Spirit, guide me here. And Spirit said, let go of what's written on your pages, Michael, and speak from what's written on your heart. Wham! I got up there, I put the pages down, and I spoke what was written on my heart. And any creative journey is about speaking from your heart, as Christine affirmed. What's on your heart will reveal itself in your work, through a potter's work, through a sculptor's work, through an artist's work, through a writer's work, through a dancer's work, through a singer's work. Wayne Dyer says, don't die with your song still in you. So I affirm that. Sing the song, dance the dance, write the book, live the life of joy that Spirit intends you to live. Where you find joy, you will find your creative voice.
Right.
Thank you, Reverend Michael. I want to give you guys a tool to use to start stoking up your creative genius. And I'm all about the journal, the gratitude journal, the this journal, the that journal. How about a creative journal, a journal or your creative genius journal? Every day, write down how you've seen that creative genius come up for you, whether it's a new idea that came through for something that you're working on, whether it's a project or a way to bring your friends together. Start writing these things down, maybe 5 a day. When we recognize what's working in our life in different facets, it gives power for more of that to happen. So if you're recognizing your creativity every single day, it's going to get bigger and bigger, and you're going to start to trust yourself deeper with what comes through that creative channel. So that's what I'm charging you to do. Those of you that want to really unlock that creative genius, start recognizing it in your daily life, and you'll just unlock that power that is just right there. It's always there. And for you to be able to recognize and see how it is coming forward and expressing itself by means of you. My beloved friends, we have just a couple minutes left, so I want to give you an opportunity for any last minute comments you would like to give to our listeners. So Christine, or I think if both of you would say something, that would be great. We'll start with Reverend Michael. Go ahead.
I would like to share something that Christine initiated on this call, and she spoke about her frog. So there's a gift in every frog. And the gift of Christine's frog was fully relying on God. And this frog, which sits in our living room every day, reminds me, and here's a shift in consciousness. We each have our own voice. Christine said fully relying on God. And for me, it's fully recognizing one God. And Dale just used the word recognize. And so for me, my frog reminds me to fully recognize God, which is ever present in my life, right here, right now, in this moment. So there we have the wisdom of frogs speaking through Christine and myself and Dale. The wisdom of frogs was present today.
I think there's a book.
The wisdom of frogs. There's a book.
The talent of frogs.
The book on the wisdom of frogs is behind me.
Are you? Whoa! There's the. I did not know that. There is that one mind, that one spirit. It was present here today because it's present everywhere, always, and powerful and creative in, as, and through us. There is that one mind. Beautiful. Thank you, Christine.
Christine, would you like to share some parting comments before I close out?
Well, I just really, I think the thing that I wanted to say to everyone is I look for when things repeat themselves. You know, I'm a big person on numbers. If numbers come up, there's certain numbers that I pay attention to. If messages come up a second time and a third time, I really listen. And I also keep my antenna out for synchronicities and really just celebrate synchronicities and just the joy, the pure joy. That's what you were talking about, Michael Dale. I think everybody, all of us have been talking about the joy of creativity. And it can be the joy of cooking too, because cooking is a very creative process. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Christine, I'm so glad you brought that back home, because creativity is all about joyful expression of life. That's, to me, that's it. Joyful expression of life through our individual expressions that we are. So thank you. Well, I want to thank my beloved Christine Cummings and Reverend Michael Kukuru. I'm having you back. This was so much fun, and I loved our chemistry, and it was just such a joy. And I know there's more for us to talk about as a group. So in closing, I just want to give you guys this, what I spoke to earlier. The three of us were thinking about creating a workshop on writing and getting into that creative genius. So if you're interested in that, I know Diana is. And Diana, thanks for being such a lovely commenter on our show. And I know there was another person, and I might know who it was, but Joyful Spirit or Creative Spirit. We get these little weird names for people that are given to them when they give feedback. So I want to thank both of you and anybody else. Joyful Creation, yes. I want to thank you for your input today and for being a part of our show. And I'm grateful that you're all here with us. But if you are interested in a workshop given by us, let us know. Either call our center or you can drop an email to me at revdaleo@gmail.com, because I think there's something for us to bring to our community here. I'd like to you can see on the screen right there at this time, I would like to invite you to give of your prosperity to our center, because as you know, we don't have Sunday services where people are coming in live and giving. And so we're relying on our online giving methods to be able to bring forth the prosperity that allows our center to continue being creative, bringing that creative genius to all of you so we can inspire you and bring you offerings that allow you to move through this time with a peaceful heart. And so you have many ways of giving through the online system. You can send checks, do whatever, but we really appreciate all that you can give to us that allows us to continue doing what we're doing. Also, the rest of the week, what we've got going on, we've got the Fabulous Five tomorrow. I'm not sure what our topic is, but we will be here and we will be downloading our creative genius, I am sure. We've got our men's group, which is a new group, a monthly group, I believe, and Reverend William and Reverend Bradley are leading that tonight at 7 to 8 p.m. There's a link on our website that will allow you to drop into the group. And I think they've also there was an email blast as well that has the link. Yeah, men need to talk. They need to get together. And I know they've created a great space for that to happen. We've got our weekly Power of 8 group at 8 a.m. on Wednesdays. This is something you do need to pre-register for. I think you can still register today. It's a wonderful way to set intention and to come together with people. And it's an extraordinary experience. And so that's at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Reverend Laura's doing her higher view this Thursday, and she's got a fabulous topic. She's going to be teaching you Ho'oponopono, which is a Hawaiian forgiveness method. And it's so amazing. And she's been teaching it for a long time, and she's a great teacher. So if you want to learn a whole new way to forgive, come join her this Thursday at 10 a.m. And Reverend Charles has Life on Love, and he's going to be teaching you how to tap into love. We're really doing the whole tapping thing here. We're teaching you how to unlock, right? Tap it, tap the energy, bring it in. So he'll be talking about tapping into love. And on Saturday, we have a guided meditation by one of our staff ministers, and we've just recorded everybody's recorded new meditations. So you want to watch for that at 10 a.m. Diana, I don't know when we're starting the class. So we're just waiting for feedback, and then we'll figure out the how and the when on that. Also, I do want to let you know, speaking of classes, Reverend Charles is starting Beyond Limits on February 8th, 6 to 8:30 p.m. And he's made it a love offering. And I know it's going to be a great class. It's always good to go back to basics, no matter where you are on your spiritual journey. Coming back to basic principles always opens us up to something that we may have forgotten. Or if you don't know about spiritual principles, come join. You're going to learn some great ways to open yourself up to truth, to understanding what God is to you, and you'll learn meditation practices and all wonderful, wonderful things that will allow your spiritual expansion to take place. So I think that's all I need to say. I'm grateful for all of you who have joined us today, whether you're here in the live venue or you're seeing us recorded. We're just grateful that you've joined us today. We love you all. We bless you all. And I want to thank my beloved guest, Christine Cummings, and Reverend Michael for joining me in a wonderful, wonderful hour of insight, enlightenment, and spiritual joy that has just flown through both of you. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And that concludes our show. Take care.